Hey guys, my name is Brandon and welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like what you see in here, you're more than welcome to hit the subscribe button so you stay notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, let's get straight on with today's video. Hey everyone and welcome back to Is That More Brandon. So in today's video I'm going to be doing a review for episode 15 of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here 2024. At the beginning of the episode we found out that it was raining quite a lot and there was a lot of thunder, with Alan saying there was lots of water and Barry saying that he felt like they might need to cancel the whole show and genuinely get the people out of there, minus the pun. OT said that Melvin's bed was absolutely soaked and they had to actually sleep on the jungle, in kind of the jungle telegraph where they obviously do their little pieces to camera. And Reverend Richard said to Melvin that he's welcome to have his breakfast because obviously Reverend Richard wasn't really that hungry. And GK was on breakfast duty and she basically said that people were requesting weird things like eggs, but obviously that's kind of out of her, not area of expertise, but with what she had, limited ingredients, they weren't able to make eggs. Barry explained that Melvin didn't seem like he was in a great place, he had a bit of a dampened spirit, and he basically just said to Melvin, you're going to be fine, you're tough. And then Oti said to him that she loves him a lot, he's almost like a brother to her in here. And Melvin basically explained that he wasn't having a fun time, with Oti saying everyone's going to be proud of him, he just needs to remember what they're in the jungle for. So yeah, I think at this point everyone kind of has their little down days, especially when you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, you're stuck in a jungle with people you don't know. So yeah, I think he just obviously had his down days, and obviously he had the campmates around him to make him feel a bit better. And then Oti got excited because there was a bit of sunshine, so they had a nice little cuddle and then they went off onto the next part of the show. Oti had a little scream because she thought what she saw was a worm on Barry's bag. It ended up being a stick, and Maura basically also said that it felt like they're all just hallucinating, seeing things that they don't see, because that's just what they do when they're in the jungle. Dean asked Reverend to give him a sermon, like a religious poem, because I believe he was going to be taking on the next task. GK said that she wanted to get out of the boat, i.e. get out of her comfort zone, which is probably kind of what the next challenge was going to be all about. Talisa decided to start a game of alphabet with animals going from A to Z. Maura said orangutan, which doesn't begin with A, it begins with O, and Alan told Maura to just leave herself out of the game. The next trial was called Spiralling Out of Control, and Barry said, I'll do it, and Alan said, whatever it is mate, you've absolutely got it. Barry said it's his time to step up, and he basically went to the trial area with Ant and Dec, and they basically said to him that he's going to have one hand free and one hand to throw balls into the open hatches. So he was kind of like spinning around what looked like a dartboard on his back. Everything you could think of was crawling around him, and he had to just kind of, yeah, with one arm down, chuck balls in the different components. So for the first 4 rounds he had 2 minutes, then he had 3 minutes, and then every round the spinner was spinning a little bit faster. So in round 1 he had cockroaches and mealworms thrown in, he won out of the 2 stars there. Round 2, mudworms and crabbies, he got 2 out of 2 stars. Round 3, fish guts and crickets, he got 2 out of 2 stars. And then the 4th round was ants, green ants, so 2 out of 2 stars again. And then the final round was scorpions and spiders, and he got 3 out of the 3 stars there, so a total of 10 out of 11, which was not too bad at all. Barry said, thank you boys, thank you for your encouragement, and asked whether they could have custard, apple pie and ice cream back at camp, because obviously he loves all 3 of those. And he basically said that it felt like he's got good neck muscles, and that sort of challenge was a good workout for your abs. Oti said to Danny and Dean, Melvin kind of needed to have a little bit of a sleep without any distractions, and I guess now he's had that sleep, he probably feels that a little bit better. And Melvin said to Reverend Richard that these campmates are the only reason that he is staying in camp. GK said that they're eating tonight, and Barry didn't really seem to be bothered by the trial that he just did. And Dean said that Barry explained the situation really quickly and then just went to go and sit down, as if just, you know, nothing has actually happened. Dean said to Reverend and OT that he wants to eventually move out and move down to Manchester with his partner Michael, who he's currently speaking to at the moment. And Reverend Richard asked Maura if she was in a relationship or whether she was exclusive, and she said she's not official with anybody, but the person she's currently with is somebody that she already knows. Dean said maybe Reverend Richard wasn't a Towie fan, because maybe he obviously doesn't know about the show, and Maura explained to Dean that cheating is hard, and it's especially hard to deal with. She's always been on her own, but it would eventually be nice for her to be with somebody. The next part of the show was for the campmates to win letters from home, so they had to guess the secret password created by the campmates' loved ones from back at home and mime the word, so kind of like just by moving their mouths, to see how many of those 11 we would win. All 11 of them were won, so each of them chose which celebrity they wanted to do the mime, and then obviously had to guess their word. So Maura chose Dean, her secret word was Casper. Danny chose Alan, and his word was Bolton Wanderers. Dean chose Maura, and his word was Wee Chicken. Oti chose Melvin, and her word was Harrow Island, where she kind of was like, I don't know what that is, and then she worked out, oh, that's where her and her husband got married. Barry chose Reverend Richard, and his secret word was Cherry Trifle. GK chose Talisa, and her secret word was Rabbi, with GK saying that Rabbi is kind of what she called her rabbit, Rabbi Williams. Colleen chose GK, and her secret word was Petrol Station, which is where Wayne Rooney proposed to her. Talisa chose Oti, hers was Lara Croft, with Talisa saying that was a nickname. Alan chose Danny, Butterfly Kisses, that's the name that Alan is called from his daughter Sienna. So I think it's like a song about father and daughter. Melvin chose Colleen, and his secret word was Mint Tea, which Melvin says only his sister would know that. And Reverend Richard asked Colleen, Reverend Richard said to Colleen, he didn't know how Colleen's proposal would be in a petrol station. There was also another one in there. Reverend Richard chose Barry, and his one was More Tea Vicar. For dinner, they had emu sausages, Kumara Canel, which I believe was just chips, and Maura explained that she was smelling the flavour. Talisa said that GK stepped up from yesterday in terms of preparing the food, and GK said that Alan's sausage fell on the floor, with Talisa's adding just wash it, put it back in the bowl. Melvin said that sausage was next level, and GK said that that was probably the best meal that everyone has had yet, especially because it was obviously cooked by her. Then they were able to read out all of their letters to each other. So Alan's letter for Talisa said that she was strong. GK's letter for Reverend Richard said that his journey was a journey of growth with the campmates. Barry's letter for Danny was that Danny was a brave dad. Maura's letter said that people were amused by her banter with Reverend Richard. GK, she was cracking people up, her screams, her little faces, and she was a little jungle babe. They told Barry to keep up the good work and not to bring any of those spiders back home. Colleen was the strongest woman that they know, and they wanted her to go all the way, showing everyone her character. Dean was doing brilliant, overcoming his fears. They were excited to see Alan on the outside give Alan a big cuddle, watching how beautiful and kind Oti is with her South African energy. And for Melvin, he was just genuinely surrounded by genuine campmates, and everybody was excited for jollof chicken and rice once they come out of the jungle. We then found out that the second person to be leaving the jungle was either Barry or Dean, and it was in fact Dean who was out of the jungle, with Dean screaming, "I'm going home." He lasted 16 days, he did 7 trials, and he won 33 stars for camp. He saw his 2 weeks of flashbacks, and he said he couldn't even believe that he was on the show. He said he soaked up the trials and the experience, and it does sometimes get quite boring in there, and sometimes you just have to play games in order to, get people going and get people a little bit excited. He explained that over time the trials got better, and the more that you do it, the more you get used to it, adding that he is a strong person, but he's obviously never been in that situation before. In terms of the wood and water, he said that Jane usually did all the wood when he was at trials. Melvin never asked him to help. He just let Dean sleep. And then in terms of lifting morale, Danny said that him and Talisa... And then in terms of lifting morale, Dean said that Danny and Talisa were music royalty, saying that, stop singing was not going to stop them singing. And he just said that he learned that life is better when it's simpler, and he wants GK to win, but they're all really good people. So that was it for episode 15.